Landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. And Game of Thrones owes us $100 because we never got to see Professor X square up with Blue Darth Maul. Brienne and Tormund didn't get to make just gigantic, monstrous babies. And Arya Stark looked like a very young grandmother the whole time. But do me a favor and hit that like button, or Bigfoot will call your mother a woman of ill repute. And for the last week, we've been carrying the CJRB Pyrite Light. So let's take a look at what we're holding, because it'll bother you if I don't, and you know I love you. So first things first, and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. It's reversible. We have got the white FRN scales, we got the button lock, and we got the thumb stud. So let's flick the stud. And we got 3.34 inches of AR RPM 9 steel. Now, what's interesting is CJRB could have gone the pirate route with this. You know, AR RPM 9. They could have called it RPM 9, but they didn't. You know, we can't have nice things around here, but you know, I got this out of the box. I really like this thing. I like the design. I like how it handles. I like a lot about this thing, and I had predicted I was going to have a great week carrying it. And I did have a great week carrying it. You know, I can't find much of anything to complain about with this thing so far. I will say the AR RPM 9 raises 1 or 2, maybe 3 eyebrows. You know, the AR RPM 9, the RPM 9. See, I'm going to do that once in a while. I like it. But the RPM 9 on the OG Pyrite did not do well on the edge retention testing. And of course, it could have had a wonky heat treatment. It could have had some burned steel on the edge, or it could just be a steel that does not hold an edge for long. I know when they're softer like that, especially these blends that are down here in the budget range that aren't 8CR or D2, they tend to focus on some extra toughness instead of the edge retention, like they make that sacrifice there. So I don't really know what happened without getting it from CJRB. Whether or not CJRB went with toughness, I don't know. So I will say I'm looking forward to the edge retention testing on this one, because I had hoped the RPM 9 would have done a bit better and done a bit better than 8CR 13. You know, it may not perform the way D2 does on the edge retention testing, but I would have thought it would have done better. Like, this was down in 3CR territory with the original Pyrite, so I really hope this does a lot better. That original Pyrite, like I said, that was like 3CR 13 territory on the edge retention testing on that. Like, it did horrible. It was worse than stumbling across a box of Whoopi Goldberg's nudes, okay? So, you know, this thing, it did great. Now, we do have a full flat grind up into a small flat on the top, and this is a tall flat grind. This thing is slicey as all get out. You know, I fed this thing some cardboard. Oh, the cut felt really good. It felt like the kind of cut through large sheets of cardboard that I like. And I mean, it was a large piece of cardboard. It cut the way I like them to. I like them super slicey. This is super slicey. The factory edge on it did pretty good. You know, it wasn't one of those crazy sharp factory edges. And, you know, we got to the plastic wrap on the pallets. And if you don't know, I like to check out the plastic wrap on the pallets, because if you've got a decent edge, you go through the middle where all the layers are, a decent edge will cut through it just fine, no problems. But you get down to that single layer at the bottom. If you got edge problems, it's going to tear it and not cut it. This thing, for the most part, cut it pretty cleanly. Again, not the craziest edge we've had, but it definitely did a good enough job, so I'm very happy with that. You know, the button lock on it is quite forgiving. I have a lot of problems with overdoing it and overcooking it, and it bounces back open. This doesn't do it as bad as others I've had. You know, it's a very forgiving button lock. It's a soft close. It can be a bit of a soft open, like, you know, I'll give it the beans on the thumb stud, and a lot of times it doesn't sound like I gave it the beans on the thumb stud. You know, it's a much quieter open than I'm used to. So, you know, it definitely opens nicely. It's a soft open and a soft close. And of course, it's centrifugal opens, which I did more than the thumb stud. You know, I prefer almost anything over thumb studs on a lot of stuff, just because I don't like the thumb studs. You know, getting your thumb in there and getting the wrist on all that is just, it's not as good for me as a flipper tab or a centrifugal open. It's just not, but you know, thumb studs aren't a big deal. I am not the kind of person that will slow roll thumb studs. I know a lot of guys prefer doing that. It's just not for me. It's not for me. I like a faster, more immediate deployment method, and it's just convenience, and it feels better to me. You know, it's kind of one of those things where it doesn't add a whole lot to the functionality, it just feels better. So, you know, I enjoyed this. It wasn't really too big of a problem in the pocket. Of course, it doesn't take up that much real estate, especially not compared to some of the stuff that I've carried. It's a fairly thin knife. All these corners and edges are chamfered. Ooh, there's that $5 word. You know, the edges are chamfered down. Again, I can't find a lot to argue with here. And of course, you might be able to see it. You might not see it so good, but the white FRN picked up a lot of junk off my keys. And a lot of it rubbed right back off. Like, a lot of this rubbed right back off because this was nasty. I mean, nasty a day and a half, 2 days ago. It did not last more than about 2 hours in the pocket before my keys deposited a bunch of junk on them, and it looked really bad, a lot worse than this. And I did get asked, do you have another pocket you can move it to? And no, not really. You know, I want it on my right-hand side. That's where I reach for it. I'm not left-handed. My left hand is not the dominant hand. I am right-handed, so it's on the right-hand side. And I've only got the pocket full of keys and everything else, and then I've got the side pocket for my phone. That's all the space that I got to spare. So this is riding in the pocket with the keys. But let's see how clean this thing gets with our Forbidden Moonshine. Of course, we have got our acetone right here. This is some pure acetone. It is some good stuff. Let's see how well she cleans up. All right, we got some acetone on here. Yeah, that cleaned right back off. So I'm starting to like FRN for ease of cleaning. That cleaned up really nice. Oh, I am happy to see that. Let's see, we got, of course, some gunk on the blade. Some of the marks from the cutting are definitely still there. That's not a big deal. You know, again, I buy these to be used. The only reason I'm really cleaning this off is, you know, aesthetically, I do like them to look a little bit cleaner and a little bit newer. But this is also to show you guys, you know, if you're really fastidious about the way your knives look and you do wind up with something on the FRN or the G10, acetone will clean it up real nice. It does. So I'm really happy to see that. I thought there may be some gray stuff left over on here, but not really. So very cool. Very cool. Let's take a look at our factory edge. Let's see how she's doing there. So this saw light use. It didn't get abused, but, you know, that feels like we're probably in the high 200s to 300. I didn't feed it a whole lot, and I know those cuts looked a lot better when I got this out of the box. So, you know, that's why I worry about the AR RPM9. You know, for your general use tape popping and breaking down boxes, not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. However, you know, I do like some edge retention on this because, you know, one, I don't like having to stop what I'm doing and sharpen. Like, some sharpening can be enjoyable. However, I have a very limited amount of time and energy between work and doing this. You know, I don't have enough posterior behind me to do a whole lot after work. So, you know, the longer I gotta go between sharpenings on these things, the better. And I'm looking at it from the perspective of you guys and the knife owner that I used to be. You know, I used to never sharpen anything just because I didn't really understand how entirely. You know, I'd feed things through the Work Sharp Kin Onion belt grinder, the blade grinding attachment where you can do that nice convex on it if I really needed to, but I liked buying things I could go a long time between sharpenings. So let's take a look on the electronic edge tester where we're at. I'm going to guess it's in the 300s or somewhere close to that. Let's get in the belly where the marks start. 320. All right, called it, 320. So I don't remember the exact number we had earlier, but I think it was in the 250s. This took some wear and tear off of light use. So if you're not too worried about edge retention, or you like sharpening and you enjoy, you know, maintaining your edges constantly, that's not going to be a big deal. For me personally, it's a big deal, and this is becoming one of those things where I kind of like AR RPM9 less and less the more I handle it. I don't think it's necessarily a trash steel. I know it was designed with a purpose. I think that purpose might be a tougher steel that can take harder abuse than D2 does without chipping. But the kind of work I do with them, I never see D2 chip. I never put them through the kind of stuff that would chip D2 out. And if I'm going to be in an environment where I'm going to be doing stuff like that, I will grab some AUS 10A, I will grab some S35VN, something along those lines. You know, I've got my cold steels. If I'm in an environment where I'm going to beat on these things, you know, again, I'm reaching for the 4MAX Scout, I'm reaching for the AD10, something like that. So, you know, for me, having the edge wear out that fast with light use over the course of a week, and I mean, it was just a handful of pieces of cardboard, like 3 or 4 cuts. 2 of them were very, very long cuts, like through about 4.5 feet of cardboard, just straight through all the way. The plastic wrap on pallets, and that was about it. It wasn't a ton of use. I gotta find excuses to use it at work, and I don't want to beat on it before we do Cardboard Slayer, just so we can start off in the best place possible and give the knife the best chance it can have of doing a good job. So, overall, all in at the end of the day, I like the design, I like how it works, I like how it carries, I like everything about everything except the steel. I am becoming less and less of a fan of PM9. It's just not my thing. However, again, if you like maintaining your edges or you don't mind the PM9, I keep flipping back and forth between that just to bother you. Someone's going to be bothered by that inconsistency. But if you don't mind the PM9 and you don't mind having to sharpen it more frequently, this is a fantastic design. Now, my feelings would be more hurt, but I knocked this down to $20 catching it on sale with a gift card. So, I got it down to a price that I'm willing to accept for the edge retention on it, and it's definitely worth more on the design end of it, at least to me personally. So that's my thoughts on that thing. That's how it did this week. Of course, it's going to go in the box for a random roll, so hopefully the D20 of Destiny picks it soon for a live stream. But all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming in. I appreciate you so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We got our regular videos. We got live streams. There's plenty of activities. Comments. I love some feedback. If you've had to maintain the edge on PM9 and done a lot of cutting with it, let us know in the comments how it's treating you, because I am definitely interested in seeing what everyone's thoughts on the steel are. But all that being said, y'all have a nice day.